Monday afternoon on the spin home here on WLR. I'm joined in studio for Ear on Air by Shane Barry. Shane, good afternoon to you, and how are you?
Hi, John. I'm great.
It's good to see you. I was after forgetting. We were just chatting amongst ourselves there before we came on. I forgot we both worked in Sinnets.
That's true, yeah.
You worked in which shop? Which was that one, and when?
I was up in
Michael Street or Barnes
Street, yeah.
Michael Street,
I couldn't think of the name of the street for a second. Yeah. I was there for a good few years. Yeah.
That's right. You would have been there then, obviously, Jane and Susan and all the gang.
Yeah, and I was even living upstairs for a couple of years
Were
as well,
you?
the top floor of the place, yeah.
So. I remember that. I was in there just for a few Christmases. That's all I could get, the gigs in there at Christmas time. I remember selling. Do you remember the small 3-inch CDs? You had to get the extender for them. I think it was Bohemian Rhapsody I sold. It was back out in 1991 or something on re-release. I don't know. But I tell you something. He was a great man, wasn't he?
Brilliant, yeah. Great.
Himself, he really was. And Noel Sinnott. And we were just chatting there amongst ourselves. We could have stories from here on next Wednesday.
I think anyone that went into that shop has stories about Noel.
Yeah. And all good ones.
All positive.
All
positive. Yeah. Funny stories.
There was nothing he couldn't get you on. Well, I say now on vinyl, but it was always vinyl. Then when the CDs came in and the DVDs and whatnot, but he had vinyl pretty much until he closed up the shop in Michael Street, and he always had that stack of vinyl towards the back.
He did, yeah. He would always go the extra distance to get people stuff.
Jeannie Mac, and just like, what years were you there? When was that?
Oh God,
how far back?
Maybe the turn of the I was there when the Euro came in.
All right,
so
okay.
That's
a
few years before that.
Yeah.
So I was there. Yeah. Started one Christmas and I stayed there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then
I wanted to stay, you see, but then I couldn't. I went on working something like this or something shortly afterwards. But listen, look, getting back from that, if the shop was still open today, he'd be selling your album, which is the new album out from yourself. This is tell me a little bit about the album, firstly, because I got this on vinyl, and a shout out as well to Harry and all the lads in Luke Records as well, because he is relentless in telling people about this album when they come into the shop, and I love it because he's always pushing the local. But fair play to him. Yeah, but listen, tell me about the album firstly. They're putting it all together.
Yeah, I suppose I started recording like so many albums coming out now during the pandemic, but it's not a pandemic themed album by any means.
Excellent.
So it's just a collection of pop songs, few instrumentals on it, a couple of soul songs. But I recorded mainly in my bedroom while my at the time, I suppose, my 1.5-year-old, at the age she was asleep downstairs for her afternoon nap.
Right.
So I'd log off work for 2 hours and do some keyboards, do some singing into the wardrobe, play acoustic guitar in the bathroom, and then if I needed anything louder, I go to a rehearsal space. But the whole thing was just kind of a DIY job.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine in Cork, Brendan Fennessy, used to play drums with O'Emperor.
Yeah.
He mixed the album, and he did the drums on a lot of the tracks. So he would record the drums, and then he would have made my amateur attempts at recording sound much better than they were with his mixing skills. So
that's amazing the way you put it together like that. Like, when you think about it, like there's so many. Like, I remember the first album I saw that was done at home. Now, in a different way. I'm going back to Paul McCartney with when he had, what was the
first album?
Temporary Secretary was on, and
stuff, too,
yeah, it was just something else. Like, I remember reading it. This was done in his own home on a couple of 8-tracks and a couple of all this. I don't know what way he put it together, but it never kind of went away, that kind of home recording. And there must be a certain vibe and a feel to it, is there?
Well, it's a lot cheaper, I can tell you. That's the main draw.
Yeah.
But it's very accessible now. I mean, you could record. Gorillaz did a whole album on an iPad.
It's mental,
so
isn't it?
the interfaces for recording now are so accessible. Anyone can do it. So just all you need to do is have an idea. It really comes back to the song. You can have all the equipment in the world, but if you don't have a song to record and work on and build that you're happy with and that you can stand over, you're just another fellow with a computer.
And that's it. Well, look, tell me, the single then this week is Living There. It's the 4th track from the album. Tell me about this song.
Yeah, I tried to write from, I suppose, the experience of people coming into a new area, a new community, and trying to settle in. And I suppose it's kind of semi-sarcastic view of that, of how people view them and make them feel forever that they owe them.
All right.
for you're welcome in the area, but you have all these conditions attached to you, and the chorus is kind of influenced by the Kinks. So it's kind of a sarcastic look at that, welcoming people in, but making sure they know that they're welcome,
Yeah. But I mean, some of the other songs, you say the acoustic, the instrumental, not acoustic, the instrumental tracks on it. Why instrumental ones? You just because I have a bit of a grow for sometimes you hear a certain piece of music, and they work perfectly as instrumentals, which they do in this album. But why, for your own case?
Well, when I started recording it, I was in the middle of doing a PhD that I eventually finished. Thank God, it was a bit of a slog. But
What was it in?
In applied linguistics.
All right.
It's completely.
That sounds a little bit different than
yeah. No, that's my other love is languages and understanding that. But I was in the middle of that, and what I was doing the whole time, and I was going up in the evening to try and do a bit of reading or writing or trying to get through stuff, was I was listening to a lot of instrumental kind of ambient drone music, music for concentration. There's many playlists out there. So my initial attempt was to try and write a full album of instrumentals, which I kind of more or less had written. So I realised I wasn't going to release the full album because, how are you going to gig it, or how are you going to, it's very hard to get airplay for instrumental music. But songs started coming back with lyrics and things, and ideas started coming back. So in a way, it kind of jumped me back into that whole mindset of actually writing songs. So it was a good kind of starting point. But the ones that survived that I was the happiest with are on the album.
All right, excellent stuff. How did you get the gig with Tom? I don't know how did you get the gig with Tom Robinson, because I said to you, is it the Tom Robinson? You said, yeah, 2468 Motorway. But how did that come about? It's on May the 8th in Garter Lane, your support act for him.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
That's a great, the setup itself, firstly, Garter Lane, great spot. But I was unaware of how this came about, so give me the ins and outs, as they say.
Martin Corbett is running the gig, so he would obviously have connections with running those kind of gigs from way back in the past. So he's obviously has a relationship with Tom Robinson. So if he's looking for a gig, Tom would reach out to him.
Is Martin from the Bridge now? I think the same, right? Is that right, Martin? No.
He's up in Norris's.
Yeah.
Exactly, same one.
Okay,
Musical impresario.
Yeah.
So he was, I think John Palmer in the Palmer's music shop, he'd said to me that, Martin's run the gig and he's looking for a support act. So I contacted him, I sent him an email, and he said he's had a couple of people interested. He's going to go through it and have a chat with Tom, and Tom likes to have some kind of involvement in who's supporting him. So I'm delighted that I got through that stage anyway. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to meet him and have a chat with him, and see.
We're literally talking legend in the area of music, a legend like with himself, like
Absolutely, yeah. Great songwriter.
Well, that has to be again a huge boost for you when you go and you meet him. And first, you told, I got the gig and all that kind of stuff. But that is a huge boost. Where else can people see you?
I suppose the big one we have coming up is in the Shanty on the 9th of June. We're running a gig out there. We have two support acts as well, EJ May and Paul Bulger. And
I actually saw EJ May last Friday night in Tully's. Brilliant.
She's brilliant, yeah.
Great singer. Fantastic, yeah.
So she's playing with us that night before us. But I'm bringing the 10-piece band out to that. We'll have the brass section, percussion section, 3 guitars. It's kind of the lineup I've been doing the last couple of kind of bigger gigs that we've done over the last year, I suppose, under the Shane Barry and the Silver South Ensemble name. So that's the 9th of June out in the Shanty, which is, anyone who hasn't been out there, you'll never see a venue outside of Dublin like this. You wouldn't believe it exists.
I haven't been there yet now. I need to get there, don't I?
They have suspended sound system on the ceiling. They have a stage you could fit about 40 people on. Right. Kind of tables with candles on it all around. It's like a kind of an LA or New York jazz club vibe they have out there. It's huge. They've done some job out there. So that's my own gig. Tickets are on Eventbrite, and we're also running the bus for that, all again up on Eventbrite. A couple other kind of gigs kind of peppered throughout the summer in the city. Hopefully 1 or 2 more supports. Just kind of playing different guises with a 10-piece band, 3-piece. Regularly enough, we play down in Ishkabaha. A couple of solo gigs, try and get 1 or 2 gigs outside the county as well, a few in Kilkenny and Cork.
Oh yeah, so and God knows there's plenty of places like Clears and places like that in Kilkenny and different places in Cork. They're always, there's some fantastic venues around the kind of southeast in this area that you can be looking at, and so many more than that. But listen, the new single "Living There" is our Ear on Air, one of our Ear on Air tracks this week, coming from the album, of course, which is Songs from the Silver South. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks a million, John, for having me.
You're the first person to come into the studio since I came back. I think people have been frightened of me. But no, it's been great. Listen, the single is, we're going to be playing it all this week. The gig, May 8th, and then the other gig is on June the 9th out in the Shanty as well. Yeah. The sound of that is going to be, what you're telling me, it's going to be amazing.
It will
just
be,
the sound alone for alone.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Shane, thanks very much.
Thanks a million, John. Welcome back.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Shane Barry, of course, Ear on Air. This is the single of the week from Shane. It's called Living There, here on WLR.